Hi, I'm John Piper, independent candidate for the United States Senate from here in Indiana. Today I'd like to talk about all those individuals on the internet that say that I'm not telling the truth about what I've had, the evidence that I've provided against Mike Pence, our former governor, now Vice President of the United States. Nothing could be further from the truth that we have provided anything that isn't factual. We are prepared to discuss all the evidence against here today. Before we do that, though, we'd like to talk about the most important issue facing the state of Indiana. It is that Curtis Hill, our Attorney General, has been accused by 4 women of touching them inappropriately. Immediately after the accusations were made public, the daggers came out. Before an investigation, before a trial, Curtis Hill had demands from our governor, Eric Holcomb, and the head of the Indiana House to resign. That's an absolute outrage. It sounds exactly what took place with Clarence Thomas, Supreme Court Justice, in 1991. Clarence Thomas was accused by somebody of inappropriate conduct. Clarence Thomas, in his trial in the Senate, said this was a national disgrace. It was nothing less than a high-tech lynching. That's precisely what's going on here with Curtis Hill. No investigation, no trial. Clarence Thomas said in 1991 that if you didn't kowtow to the old order, you would be lynched and destroyed rather than hung from a tree. That's exactly what is taking place here today. Everybody has the right to due process. Yes, even an elected official, most particularly an elected official. The people of Indiana have a right to know what the evidence is against him. We believe this applies to everybody. That is why, in regards to Mike Pence and the evidence we've provided, we would like the Attorney General of the United States of America, Jeff Sessions, in this letter we sent to him, to start a full and formal and open, public open investigation to find out if what we said is absolutely true. We believe it is. Mike Pence is due process. We believe that the Attorney General of the United States should open an investigation immediately so it's relevant for the 2018 election. At this point, we believe Curtis Hill is due his due process, and we believe Mike Pence is due his due process. So let's talk about Mike Pence. Some on social media are saying that Mike Pence was vetted properly. No way. Mike Pence was a gift from Donald Trump to the never-Trumpers. Donald Trump said, "I will take one of your swamp rats if you get on the Trump train." Essentially, Donald Trump was talking to Paul Ryan and all of his followers. Paul Ryan was best friends with Mike Pence when they were in Congress together. People forget, Mike Pence was a congressman for 12 years. Paul Ryan was a never-Trumper and hates Trump to this day. Basically, Mike Pence was never vetted because Mike Pence was never asked the important, hard questions. Human trafficking. Why is this so prevalent in Indiana? Why is Indiana a sanctuary state? Why is Indianapolis a sanctuary city? Mike Pence was never asked why he stole thousands of dollars from his first campaign. Mike Pence used that money to pay off his wife's car, to pay his mortgage payments, to pay his credit cards, to pay his golf debts. People forget Richard Nixon fired Spiro Agnew as Vice President of the United States for stealing $29,500 from his campaign when he was governor of Maryland. Vice presidents can be fired, and I believe at the end of this investigation, Mike Pence will be fired. We are asking Attorney General of the United States, Jeff Sessions, to have an open and public investigation into what Mike Pence did while he was governor of the state of Indiana. So let's talk about Mike Pence and all the accusations that I've made about him. So let's start with Mike Pence and the 3 meetings I've had with him. The first one was October of 2009. Mike Pence and I were at the same fundraiser for Senator John Barrasso. At that meeting, Mike Pence and I got in a heated debate about whether human trafficking was an issue for him as a federal employee. He was a congressman at that point. He said no, it was an issue for local police. I did not agree. Like I said, we got in a heated debate. He told me, "John, I'm a federal man. This is all about local cops." I said, no, it's not. These children are smuggled in from other countries. They're brought into America. They're smuggled into Indiana. They're then dropping off the drugs. They're sent to child prostitution houses, and then they're killed. Not one of these children are ever going to see the inside of Peyton Manning's Children's Hospital. They're never going to see the inside of Riley's Children's Hospital. Mike Pence knows they're here. Mike Pence knows how they're getting here, and he wouldn't do anything about it in 2009. In 2012 was our second meeting. It was at the Capitol building downtown. I was invited there by State Representative David Frizzell. Technically, Mike Pence stayed outside the room at an adjacent office. He did, however, send his nephew, John Pence, in. John Pence was a law student at IU at the time. He came in with Deputy Attorney General David Miller. All this evidence was presented to them. Times, dates, location, where the drop house was in Greenwood, Indiana, where the drop house was in Mooresville, Indiana, the number of kids, the time of day they're being dropped, Google Earth pictures. All of it was given to John Pence and Deputy Attorney General David Miller. I said, if you think I'm crazy, if you think I'm lying, send one cop out, one federal agent, one state police officer, talk to my neighbors over at the strip center where I had my business. Talk to all my neighbors in my neighborhood, my next door neighbor, and his neighbor. I said the same thing to Mike Pence in 2009 that I said to his nephew, and I said again in 2016 at our last meeting. To this day, the middle of July in 2018, Mike Pence has never sent a federal agent, state cop, or local cop to take stories, to take testimony from these people. Why? This is evidence. Mike Pence had an obligation, he had a duty as governor of the state and as a congressman of the state. Mike Pence and the FBI are allowing these kids to be here. The drug traffickers know that they can't stop the kids. We know this. Right here on this sign right here. Dan Stein was on Fox and Friends. On this particular sign, he showed us that there are 564 sanctuary cities in the United States of America. That's in 2018. In 2000, there was only 11. The people on Fox and Friends said, we can't understand. How is this even possible? Dan Stein said, the governors of these states will not allow police officers to do their duty. They're not allowed to do their job. That's why we have so many kids coming in. That's why we have so many drugs here. If you don't believe me, ask any cop. If you don't believe me, ask any principal of any school. The fire department went into the strip center. They did investigations for fire safety. The health department did their health inspections. They all saw the mattress rooms. Local cops were called over and over again. They're not allowed to do anything. Last meeting I had with Mike Pence was right here, 2016, 2 months before Donald Trump took him as vice president. This was in February. Mike Pence sat 10 feet away at the head table. He came over and sat down between my wife, Anna, and myself. We said, Mr. Governor, this is still going on. The FBI is not stopping it. They're not rounding anybody up. Mike Pence looked at the packet of information I gave, rolled it up in his hand, and Mike Pence said, Dr. Piper, Mr. Piper, we're going to get to the bottom of this. He thanked us, and then he walked away. To this day, in the middle of July 2018, Mike Pence has never done anything. It's inconceivable. Those are two big, important pieces of evidence right there. Let's go down to drug pardons. The guy who bought my restaurant, who never paid me for it, is in this picture right here, the Daily Journal. I didn't make it up. He was arrested for selling drugs to children. Where did he get his drugs? Mike Pence gave him a gubernatorial pardon. He never saw a minute in court, never saw a minute behind bars. Why did Mike Pence pardon this guy? Then why did Mike Pence destroy all his records? You don't have any police reports. You don't have any arrest warrants. You don't have any court documents. You don't have a governor's pardon. But he never saw a minute in court. Never saw a minute behind bars. He's a repeat offender. Sold drugs to children. That's the reason he was arrested. That's evidence. I took my case to the Indiana Supreme Court. The attorneys I had dropped my case, took all my money, never resolved it. They said I was trying to get them to fight this human trafficking situation as well. Not true at all. So I took them to the Indiana Supreme Court. In the state of Indiana, you can't sue your attorneys. You have to send them before a disciplinary board. The Indiana Supreme Court said, John, it's a civil matter. The bare minimum, the Indiana Supreme Court should have referred this, knowing it was all about human trafficking, they should have referred it to the state police and the FBI. Mike Pence told them not to, and they didn't. That's more evidence. 2 police reports were made about that drug trafficker right there. I have them both right here. The first one is 2012 in February. The second one is September of 2012. Can't find them in the record. They're gone. Who has the power in the state of Indiana to pardon a drug trafficker, to get rid of all the evidence, to get rid of all the police reports? Both of those incidents where he threatened to kill my wife, myself, my staff, blow up my hospital with the children inside, with all the pets inside. All of it was captured on video camera at Meyer in Greenwood and right here at My Angel Animal Hospital. The digital surveillance shows it. That's evidence. Mike Pence had it all destroyed. It doesn't exist anymore. That is why we are asking the Attorney General of the state of Indiana to start an immediate investigation before the 2018 campaign. This letter is a formal letter requesting a formal investigation and a public investigation into Mike Pence. Everybody says, John, why didn't you hire a better attorney? Well, let's talk about that. I did. His name was Greg Garrison. Everybody knows Greg Garrison. He's the lawyer that prosecuted Mike Tyson for raping that girl in Indiana. He got a conviction. He then went on the radio and had a radio program. He was our little itty-bitty Rush Limbaugh in the morning. Greg Garrison sent me this letter saying, thank you, Mr. Piper, for bringing all your evidence to my office. He returned it and sent that letter and said, thank you, but no thank you. I will not participate. Why did Greg Garrison, one of the best-known attorneys in all the state, not want to help? Because his best friend in the whole world is Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence. Again, we have all the evidence necessary to start a criminal investigation. Jeff Sessions, please look at this before the 2018 election. Let's talk about April of 2014. I called the FBI multiple times. The FBI had the sign right up here. Help stop child prostitution. Call the FBI. April 9th, I called the FBI. They told me you couldn't call it in. You had to bring the evidence out. I took the evidence out. I went out there on the 16th of April. Not once, but twice. The first time they threw me out, said there were no agents available. The second time I demanded to see an agent, or I was going to call a press conference right then and there. They sent an agent out. I talked to the agent, gave her all my information. It lasted a whole 3 to 5 minutes. I said to the agent the same thing I said to Mike Pence. If you think I'm crazy, if you think I'm lying, go talk to my next door neighbor. Go talk to his neighbor, and his neighbor. Go down to the strip center where I'm at. Ask all those individuals. All my addresses are there, my phone numbers are there, the FBI has all the information. Every bit of evidence we have, the FBI and Mike Pence have in their possession. To this day, the FBI has never done anything about it. That's why we need the FBI taken out, we need out of the equation, and we need Jeff Sessions to agree to start an investigation. Again, this is a letter we're sending to Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General of the United States. Please start an investigation. Make sure it's open and make sure it's public. Let everybody know. Mike Pence has a right to have his say. Mike Pence has a right to say, wait a minute, let me look at this. I didn't make this up. This sign right here was shown on Channel 8, Wish TV. It was shown on June 23rd of 2014. Their story showed that 4 children were saved. Those signs were put up all over Indiana. $2 million were spent, a 30-day roundup of all the children involved in child prostitution. 4 children were saved. It's a blessing 4 kids were saved, but they were all Hoosier runaways. Not one of these children was an Asian child, Hispanic child, South American child. Not one. 4 Hoosier runaways. Had the FBI gone to the house that my wife and I spoke about, that all my neighbors spoke about, had they gone to the strip center that all the other business owners talked about, they would have saved 20 children. This is solid evidence. Jeff Sessions, we need your help. Thank you for listening today. God bless America, and God bless Indiana.